Tierra Encantada, la Tierra Encantada, Tierra Encantada, la Tierra Encantada.
Hey there friends! A lot has happened in the past 2 weeks. I took my time and delivered a big spectacular jungle temple setting for the Ocelot and called in some help, because while I sort of like the habitat looking like this, I had some help from Digital Blob, and this looks so much better. In this build I'll first show how I built the jungle around the habitat and then the habitat itself, so feel free to skip ahead. Join me. Hey there guys, you joined me at the temple jungle building part of the video, and I feel like I need to apologize first of all, because for the most part when building Tierra Encantada I've been pretty faithful, to the extent that's possible for me, to represent certain biomes, locations, areas of South America. And I was trying to avoid the cliches that you see in a lot of, interpretations of South America, where it's just jungle and temples. However, for this build I sort of have betrayed my own principles, because while I claim that this is an Amazon area, the architecture that we are emulating here is very much a Central American, or maybe even sort of Andes area, right? The Incas, the Mayas, the Aztecs, they did not really live in the Amazon rainforest, as far as I know, as far as I'm aware. I did my research just now. So these like famous stepped pyramids, they are more sort of a Mexico, Mesoamerican thing. Still, I feel like I had some, some leeway to do it, because, well, it is definitely an iconic aspect of just general South American or American history, is these ancient mysterious temples and civilizations. And I will say that I've always been very, very intrigued by these civilizations, wishing to know more about them and wishing that they hadn't been, well, wiped from the face of the earth in a way. So building this path was quite simple. We took the temple wall from the South America pack and just sunk it down into the ground, made it a bit uneven and sinking more rubble into the ground, and then we went to spamming these wonderful ferns and bracken and everything to make it look overgrown, to make it look mysterious and like a real jungle. And this is where the sort of, you leave civilization behind and you enter a different world completely. And praise the Lord for the silver fern once again. I just discovered that is the greatest plant in the game. So we add these little details, these little pillars sunken in there, and then we continue to make this whole area look overgrown and lush and just in general like a real jungle. And a lot of what you see here was captured on stream, and a lot of what you see here was captured in the past 2 weeks, because I really did feel last week when I started building this, I immediately knew that the amount of detail that I was putting into this, I would not be able to have this video ready for that Sunday. So I gave myself another week to finish this build, and I feel like even though it's still not quite finished, the Ocelot itself and the jungle area around it is finished. And I just had so much fun building this. I have to tell you, the jungle vibes, putting the plants there, even many plants that I never really liked to use before, like those sort of red, very bright red South America plants. They look right here, they add that dash of color. Flowers, again, I've sort of been persuaded by many builders to move away from flowers, because you will rarely see flowers in zoo habitats, for starters, because they are definitely going to get trampled or eaten. But in an area like this, in a park like this, that's more aimed at sort of a fantastical, imaginary, almost like theme park feel, there's no shame in using these flowers at all. This is a tropical setting, humid, hot, warm, colorful, so flowers absolutely don't look out of place here. And yeah, we just start adding a lot of those plants. There's still a lot of work to do, because as you will see, we still need to build the whole temple area there that the ocelot will call home, and we start building that right now. Like so many habitats in Planet Zoo, it is honestly a great tip to just dig a pit first, so then you can build upwards without having to think about which areas to sink down, yada yada, later. So we start building a pit, and then we built the structure of the ocelot habitat and add a path there and a glass wall. The idea I knew right away for the ocelot habitat is that you needed to enter sort of an underground temple ruin, and you would move down, take some stairs, and then you would see this sort of like V-shaped window or V-shaped habitat where the light would hit just right, and you would get this like abandoned hidden temple and the ocelot in sort of like a valley, really. So what you see me building here is the interior of that temple. I obviously didn't build the entire interior, I just built a hallway around those paths. Everything else is just an empty hollow shell. Obviously, I'm not that crazy. But yeah, I'm definitely not going to show you everything here. I spent a lot of time adding details, these rocks, these bricks, these stones, a lot of the rubble. You'll see me do that, but all of this was captured in a stream. And the amount of time I spent building this hallway alone really proved to me that I needed more time. I didn't quite pursue this same level of detail in the rest of the build, but I could always go back and finish it. I still have given myself another week to finish Tierra Encantada completely, and have it completely ready for like its big presentation moment where I will tour the zoo. But yeah, so you see me here building sort of a frame here for that golden piece here to make it stand out. And here you see me going through the ridiculous step of hiding these steps under different steps. A detail that I would never do in another zoo of mine, but here it just felt right to hide it under the right color and the right texture of steps. And we started adding this rubble just to give the whole hallway this abandoned, forsaken, ancient feel. And that was so much fun. Designing this interior hallway. In truth, it was, it's still not crazily detailed. I will say that. I've seen so much better, but for me it was a fun exercise to really take my time here. And yeah, I hope that when you see the end product, or when you maybe visit this place yourself, that you will be sort of feel immersed by this concept. So we keep returning to this piece and making sure that the floor of this temple will look like this very uneven, asymmetrical collection of bricks. And then chat actually gave me the idea of adding vines and roots inside the temple. Lord knows where they came from, but that doesn't really matter. And yeah, just some more detailing here. And I feel like, yeah, it really does the job well to convince you that you are in a temple of sorts. And this is the sort of detailing that I honestly rarely do. I do the detailing inside the habitat usually, and not as much outside of it. Then we go to the actual ocelot habitat itself. And what I knew right away is that I wanted a sunlit, mysterious temple-like building in the back. And we started out by creating it like this, and then changed my mind and doing it like this. I wanted the the keeper, what's it called, the keeper gate hidden. And now, yeah, a lot of this is just adding trimming and making sure that things look a bit uneven, that things look a bit, that there's shadow present and texture. That's always the key in creating buildings, even ruins, is making things look a bit uneven, making sure that they're not all on the same plane. They're higher, lower, closer to you, farther away from you, and that in general does, the job, I feel, Not that I'm an expert, but that is what I've noticed in how other builders build, is how buildings in the real world work. And that is that nothing is ever flat, nothing is ever on the same plane, things jut out, things are, moved inwards. And that's how buildings function, sometimes for aesthetic reasons and usually for functional reasons. And adding this temple rubble, which was a godsend, adding this gold trim around the the Ocelot. This will, all of this, what you're seeing right now, the golden trim will change quite a bit later on in the build, but this is what we went with now. And then we took these like South American signs, which are, pretty nice pieces in and of themselves, just to add some texture and interesting shapes. The very basics here of adding a shelter, it's sandbox mode. The animals don't really need it. I could turn all of those things off, but I'm giving them the basics of a shelter here, making sure that the top of it looks appropriately, ruined, abandoned, giving it some decay, so to speak. And that was also a lot of fun to do. These pieces, actually, I've sort of come to appreciate them again. They've been in the game for a long time, but they're more versatile than I've given them credit for. So there you go, we've added them, and then we create sort of this path outwards. This is sort of hidden in the final build. I might actually go back and change it, because Blob, while building for me, I actually watched him build it live. Thank you, by the way, Blob. I will thank you once again here in this video for building the climbing frame that you guys are all going to see. It's so cool. I'm going to use it absolutely, and the Ocelots use it. It's great. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the path that you saw me building there. We will do a little trick with it, probably in the final version. I didn't record everything here, and I'm going to save you a lot of the detailing. We add this back wall to the building, we add these pillars as you see, and we just start completing the interior of this temple. I'm not going to show you all of this because, it's just a lot of clicking and putting stones down. I do add these benches here, some more rubble because, can't go wrong with more rubble. Some random detailing here in typical Yelbu fashion, no symmetry at all. Just off the cuff, and then these mysterious stone faces, one of which has been toppled and is on the floor of the temple here, and then the rest is placed against the pillars there. Then we move back to the Ocelot habitat and we start using this piece that I've really learned to appreciate now. I never used this really, but this moss carpet rock, when used in the way that I've been doing it, really helps to sell the forest floor illusion really, and also was very useful in hiding this weird gap that unfortunately I had there. I also hid it under these rocks to sort of emulate the feel that the moss was growing inside the temple as well. And we add some trim to sort of keep the guests sort of away from the glass here. And took a look to see how it looked, and I was pleased. So then we get to the good part, and that is adding a lot of plants. And I think I can't really comment on that too much, so let's talk about this wonderful animal that I've added to the Tierra Encantada zoo, and that is the ocelot. The ocelot is a medium-sized wild cat, approximately the size of a beefy house cat. They have a very wide range from the USA to Argentina, and they even live in the Caribbean, although they are mostly centered around Middle and Amazon regions. They are an animal of least concern, though still threatened by habitat loss, hunting and traffic accidents, and a few years ago their global population was estimated to be around 40,000 individuals. These creatures are mostly active around twilight and at night, so I could have just as well made this into a nocturnal habitat, and I think that should I ever use the ocelot again in a zoo, I think I would create some sort of nighttime setting for them. They hunt small terrestrial mammals, but can also feed on fish and, for example, crabs. They are a stealthy hunter and also a very skilled swimmer. The Aztecs and Incas represented the ocelot in their art, a very common motif actually in their art. You could see them in murals, in their ceramics, and they carved their bones into tools. Ocelots, in fact, have been kept as pets, but they are quite demanding. They're very active, very agile, can be troublesome to keep. They might injure you with their bites in play. Nevertheless, they can be very affectionate, and famously Salvador Dali kept an ocelot as a pet. The ocelot was named Babu. So at this point we start finishing up the detailing here. There's a lot that I cut out. We added like rocks all around the temple and stuff. We did a whole bunch of stuff, and I don't know why I'm talking in the royal we. I did that. No one else did that. But just giving you a bit of the vibe here of adding all these plants to make this path look appropriately overgrown, and then adding this fallen tree. Which doesn't grow in the Amazon at all, I'm pretty sure, but still making sure that there's like a dramatic fallen tree across the entrance here. Feel like that was a nice touch. I think it's kind of also time to talk a bit about the very near future of the channel. First of all, if you haven't seen the video, which I don't blame you, I think only 5 people have seen it. But if you didn't see that little announcement I did, I'm going to be streaming video games, different video games than Planet Zoo, because I have collected a rather large collection of video games in my library, my backlog as they call it, and I feel like I need to play them. I don't necessarily need to finish them, but I need to play them at least, right? You paid for it, you need to play them. So over the next few weeks, months, maybe even years, who knows, I'm going to be trying to play one of those games once every week on stream. And if that's for an audience of 0, audience of 1, 2, 3 people, whatever, at least I'm playing the game, and maybe I can entertain someone else while doing it. So watch out for that. The very first stream is coming this Tuesday, July, let me open my calendar here, 29th. I will be streaming Halo 2, as I have, recently finished Halo 1, after a hiatus of nearly 20 years of not playing the rest of the game. I'm going to be playing its highly acclaimed sequel. And as far as Tierra Encantada goes, I am going to finish off this zoo, just the final details, the making sure the sight lines work, making sure that it's surrounded by appropriate scenery, and then I'm going to do one final showcase tour of it. And I think if you've watched this far, maybe you can tell me in the comments, should I do a tour without commentary, a tour with commentary? Should I just walk through the zoo in one go without stopping? Should I spend a lot of time? Should I add cinematics? What do you think would be the most entertaining way to visit Tierra Encantada? Obviously, I will add it to the workshop, so you can take a look at this yourself. Be warned though, I am playing this with several sandbox settings on. Most notably, the escapes are turned off because it would be a disaster otherwise for the ocelot, first of all. And also, don't look too much behind the scenes, because there's a lot of weird, janky, ugly stuff hidden behind the rocks in the temples. So please don't look away from all of that stuff. It is not meant to be visited. But still, you will see a final tour of Tierra Encantada next Sunday on the 3rd of August. So be looking forward to that video. And after that, guys, well, I owe it to myself and I owe it to you to get back to work on Bolo Bolo, get those damned palaces finished once and for all. I never knew beforehand that the psychological trauma would be so big that I just would spend months procrastinating on it, but here we are. I still haven't rebuilt the palaces, and I feel in this amount of time I could have very well finished the entire zoo. I need to get back to Bolo Bolo. Maybe if the palaces are just still such a huge obstacle in my poor adult, ADHD riddled brain, I can just build something else in Bolo Bolo, get back in the groove. even though the frame rate is struggling. I need to finish that, and after that, as I've revealed in the stream, I feel like I have one more zoo in me, a temperate zoo, more focused, more planned, more, you know, intimate in a way, less chaos, just a bit more realism as well. That is going to be also, yeah, I use a blueprint here, but it's from Frontier. I put it on top of the temple, and I felt like this looks pretty perfect. And I made this building. I'm not going to show you it at all. It is based sort of on a real architecture from actual ruins, but it's a bit weird. So I'll just show you some snippets of it so you get the idea. It looks a bit weird, but trust me, it's based on an actual temple. And now enjoy the visual tour. Thank you for watching. See you soon.
I'm gone from Tijuana. The gray dove calls to guide my way across the sea to reach Chihuahua, with the coyote as my only friend. Down to the ruins of Copan, where jaguars reign in shadowed jungle. The bright Quetzal in crimson mantle takes to the sky to show me home. Tierra Encantada.